Hello, Chaplain Floyd, Pastor Perry Floyd here to talk with you in my walk with God. And so today, let's take a little journey and talk about the journey with God, would you? There's a tremendous little book. It's a short book written by a Chinese Christian named Watchman Nee. Maybe you've seen it. In it, he summarizes the journey of Christians with three little words. And it's a summary of the book of Ephesians. And it's all about our journey with God because, you know, in walking with Jesus, the last thing you want to do is hit a pothole or go over some bumps. But that's the way life is, isn't it? And so in our journey with God, the book of Ephesians has three little words in three verses that summarize what it means to follow Jesus. The first one is the word sit. In Ephesians 2:6, Paul says we are seated with Christ in heavenly places. And so the first part of the journey is finding out who you are and then having a seat, just relaxing, knowing who you are in Christ. 4 verses later, Ephesians 2:10, Paul says, "For we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus, to do good works, which he prepared in advance, that we should walk in them." And so the first part of the journey is figuring out who I am in Christ and then have a seat. I mean, after all, Jesus has done all the work. He's seated at the right hand of God. And so knowing who I am means I sit down too. Sometimes on the journey you have to back up a little. Do you know who you are in Christ? That's the first part. The second word, sit, is the first one. The second one is the word walk. Ephesians 4:1 says, "Let us walk worthy of the name of the Lord that we've been called." And so the walk, the lifestyle, is what is the next word. And in those chapters, chapter 4 and 5, Paul talks about how we live, and particularly about the relationships that we have. Husbands, wives, children, parents, slaves and owners, which would be applicable in our culture to mean workers and bosses. And he has a specific way that we walk, that we live, that we go on our journey. And so step 1, we sit down. Step 2, we walk it out. We live in the relationships God's given us. And then the third little word in Watchman Nee's book is the word stand. Ephesians 6:10 says, "Be strong in the Lord and stand firm." Stand against the schemes, the plans, the methods of our enemy. And so spiritual warfare, learning how to stand, knowing who we are, and walking out the relationships that we have in Jesus, that's the third word, stand. And he says, after you've done everything, stand. Put on the armor of God and stand. And so that's a good summary of the book of Ephesians. Sit, walk, and stand. It's also a good summary of what it means to follow Jesus on this journey that we're in together. And today, I'm committed to know who I am in Jesus, to sit, to walk it out in the relationships that I've been given to walk, and then to stand against the schemes of my enemy, knowing that flesh and blood, they're not my enemy. No human, even when he acts like he's my enemy, is not my enemy. I'm standing, I'm walking, and I'm sitting today. And looks like I'm at my destination. And so for you and I, heaven is secured. Our destination is done. The issue is, how are we going to take the journey?